Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 72 of... I did not do that right.
The new podcast where it's my life. I did not do that right.
Anyway, welcome to the VR Verdict podcast, episode 72, if you haven't heard already. I am PJ.
I'm Wookie.
And we would like to share VR with you. This episode, we talk to a man that goes by the name Cactus. His studio is called Cactus VR Studio, and he's he has finished Cactus Cowboy Fully Loaded, available on Steam, App Lab on the Oculus, and SideQuest, and it's free everywhere, so definitely check it out. It's a great game.
Buy the man a beer.
Buy the man a beer. Hopefully we get there should be a link in the show notes to tip the man. He does everything for free. It's a long episode. We had a great chat. Good guy, really good sense of humor. It's fun to talk to, so...
It's a gem when you find somebody that just smashes that stuff into a free game and optimizes it and spends time to make it run as well as you guys said it runs. So
yeah,
it's good all around.
So where are you located? I never got that. It's like US or...
Yeah, I am in Wisconsin in the US, and then Wookie is in North Carolina.
Ah, all right. Well, so how does this all work?
So what we normally do, I'll introduce you and Wookie, and then we'll just kind of start chatting. We'll talk about the game, obviously, but we like to hear how you got into programming and gaming. And how and why you chose VR, all that fun stuff.
That's going to be a long story because I'm old.
Perfect. We normally try to record for an hour. We don't care if we go over, but I don't want to take the guest time. Some people don't mind. Some people really do mind. So whatever you're comfortable with is fine.
Oh, I got time. It's my free Saturday.
I don't know if Wookie has plans today, but I'm on vacation starting today, so I got plenty of time.
Well, on vacation. No, you don't, because vacations are scarce in the US. I know that because this is essentially why I left the US for good.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, literally hated working there. It was hell when you used to 35 to 40 days off paid a year, and then you get none in the first year and 6 in the second. I was like, no.
Yeah.
That ain't compatible with me, mate.
And I love to hear that kind of stuff too. So we're pretty laid back, so if that topic comes back up, that'd be cool. Because I agree, I've long looked at European countries and they only work 35 hours a week and they get a month off for free.
Well, 35 hours is not exactly correct, but the minimum pay days off we have is a whole lot more than you get in the US. I mean, from my understanding was that there are no mandatory regulations, so there's only something that is customary that might change from whoever hires you to, from company to company a little bit. Some have a standard system, some have something called PTO or whatever.
Yep.
Whereas here for a full-time job, you are guaranteed to have 26 days at least.
Yeah, that's
which is excluded from what's it called, public holidays, etc. PPP.
Good morning.
Yeah, that's way better system.
It's different though, but it also has there are pros and cons to everything.
Yeah. Hey Wookie, we're just talking about time off and the differences between countries.
Oh.
Yeah, good morning, mates.
America's work system's pretty jacked up that way.
Mm-hmm.
I know. First-hand experiences, it's hell.
Yeah. My current position, I negotiated pretty well. They only give you 4 weeks off, though, but you have to work there 25 years to get it. Like, you get 1 week after the first year, and then, like, after 5 years, you get another week, and it's like, geez.
Wait, you have to work like 20 years there to get the full amount?
Yeah, because it's up to the employer. There's no real legal status on giving you.
Well, I'm fully aware of that, but what I'm questioning here, like especially when you work in IT, I do not know any single person who worked like 20 years at the same company in an IT field. Like literally no one. I mean, I worked for 15 years in IT in the very same company, but that is already rare.
Yeah. Yep. Am I? Oh, go ahead.
I'm kind of fortunate. I work for a company where my old boss, who I'm now equals with, I guess, however you want to say that, she's been in the company 40 years, and she's coming up on her second sabbatical. We get a sabbatical every 20 years, but I've been in the same, not in the same role, but the same place for coming up on 18 years in IT. But we're fortunate. We have pretty good benefits and stuff, but yeah, the normal is not good.
It really depends. It really does. I mean, at least here in Germany, you kind of screwed by your salary usually. I mean, the payment is really low, especially when you look down, what's left after they take out taxes and social security and all this kind of stuff. However, there's always an however. However, unless you are working for like one of these large employers, such as like very classic VW or something, then you essentially do nothing all day, but you get paid like holy crap. That's so weird. I know this one guy who's basically doing the door at the VW facility close to me, and he gets paid like what would that compare to? Yes, like 6,000 a month.
Wow.
and all he essentially does, he's like basically the security guard at a place where nothing ever happens.
Good job.
yeah, me too. I mean, though it's kind of boring, but it's like, what the fuck?
Just thinking up game ideas or book ideas.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a good job to like just have and allow you to think on what you're doing for yourself, type of thing.
If you can't do that, well, I need my brain. That would drive me nuts.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we can bring that up again, but we should probably start talking about why you're here.
So, all right, then let's push reset, and here we go.
Would you like us to refer to you as Cactus throughout the episode, or do you have a name you want to use?
I don't know. I have like a terrible name I have a name that is hardly pronounced in English, so it's Bernd.
Yeah, I'm gonna slaughter that.
Bernd.
So Cactus is fine if it's easier to pronounce, because I mean you just mentioned it's almost impossible to pronounce correctly.
And I always feel like an asshole because I barely speak my own language, let alone other ones.
It's fine. I had to get that a lot, and every time they called me at work, and I have like, okay, whom they talking about? And after a while, I realized, okay, they mean me. Okay, yeah, rule, cool, yeah.
Just call me Cactus. Don't ask why.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, normally, like I said, I would introduce you guys, but we've been talking. So, Wookie, this is Cactus. Cactus, this is Wookie.
Yo.
It was one of my questions with your games, and apparently more than games. What's with the cactus? Like, what's How'd,
Oh.
how'd you choose Cactus for your main character and other things?
All right, that is well, where do I start? Well, it's a mixture of always wanted something like a franchise such as like Mario, Sonic, whatever.
Hmm.
And at the same time, when I was trying to get into VR and 3D programming, I realized that the human hand is far more complex than I thought it would be. And I had this one cactus here. It's like this dancing cactus, and he has like these Mexican thingy things that he rattles around when you make some noise. And I was like, okay, just try this. This is easy. And when I had it, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. All you need to do is you just put him a hat on, like the cactus you have here on your desk, and you have your character. And it's unique, and it's something no one really has done it before in VR, especially not in VR. I mean, there's this Cactus McCoy game, I guess, but I was completely unaware that it even existed when I was doing that.
Nice.
So, and over time, I had this whole thing going on. I was like, okay, just stick to it. It works well. It's weird. It's like it's a little bit unique because everybody has like like virtual hands and in some sort of way, but no one actually plays a cactus.
Yeah.
It's different.
I think Wookie, when we were in VR chat for that one, it was like a holiday live play. Wasn't I a cactus avatar? Do you remember?
Yes, you were.
Like, and I felt really good to be a cactus. Like, it felt really cool. Well,
You're in VR, you're not really a cactus. You know this.
No, yeah, but well, you are. But they have mirrors and stuff, and it was really neat to like, hey, I'm a cactus, and we'll get to your game, but like you have some melee, and punching things with a cactus hand does feel pretty good.
It is different, and I was trying to get into the whole 3D modeling thing. I literally started with nothing because all I knew was essentially, yeah, what was it? How would you describe that? I know tinkering with stuff. I knew 2D sprites. That's all I knew. That's all I ever knew. I had a little bit of experience with Unreal Engine from '99, from the very first Unreal tournament.
Nice.
But this is so far back. You can't even compare. And I was essentially just clicking the BSP brushes and set up, some rooms and drag certain assets in. But that was it. But I never made anything on my own. So when I was trying to have a hand that holds the gun, and especially like squeezing the trigger, I was absolutely overwhelmed by the complexity of the situation. And which is also essentially, I mean, if you look at these 3 games that I made from the series so far, you can tell, like from series to series, that the game becomes better and better and better and complex and even more complex.
Yeah.
And what I'm working on right now has already raised the bar again. So
Yeah, I hopped in. I don't remember if I played it and then we got to talking, or we were talking and then I played Cactus Cowboy Fully Loaded 3. But within 10 minutes I was really surprised like how well it ran and how many different things you had in there. Like in the game you jump, which is not normal in VR games, and I'm kind of glad to see it as a gamer. It's VRs can do so many things, but just for like a straight up game, like I have kind of missed jumping around. You had like climbing and like all kinds of mechanics, and I was really shocked because a lot of games have like one main mechanic or maybe one or two, and you kind of have the full bag in there, and it works really well.
Well, the very first game, Cactus Land, was the idea behind it was jumping, actually, and I wanted I always wanted to make games, especially when it comes to VR, is that focuses on people that do not get motion sick.
I appreciate
Because
that.
well, the reason why is that because I feel like a lot of, especially the bigger productions, they sacrifice gameplay over comfort.
Yep.
Or especially with like Half-Life Alyx, for instance, you can tell that they sacrificed gameplay over comfort.
Yeah.
A whole lot of it, actually. At least in my opinion. I mean,
I would agree.
it probably makes a lot of sense from a business perspective, but I do not have a business perspective, so I don't give a shit. Yeah, well, that's the truth. Though, of course, when you want to target a larger audience from this standpoint, that makes sense, absolutely. But if you don't care about money at all, and you just do it as a hobby, or whenever you get time at work, I hope my boss don't hear that. Anyway, anyway,
No one
you
knows
can
who
just
Cactus is. You're good.
yeah, I know. So you can push the limits a lot. I mean, a whole lot, and I think that a lot of bigger productions would love to do that, but at the same time, they will probably lose too many customers that are, very prone to motion sickness. Especially like the very first game which was essentially only jumping around from platform to platform. I don't see how, newcomers to the media, to the VR media, will stomach that.
Yeah.
Probably not gonna happen.
Nope.
Same goes for the second part, which was not that bad because you weren't jumping around that much, but yet you had the portals, which let you drop from the ceiling, and it's essential. I made Portal in VR,
Nice.
and you could tell, and you can tell why big companies didn't do it.
Yeah.
And I think I once saw something that was similar to a VR portal, but that was based on teleport movement. And I was like, huh? That makes no sense at all. So you mean I teleport to the portals to get teleported to the other side of the portal? No, that's wrong. That's just essentially wrong from the entire mechanics. That shouldn't work this way, because you have a portal to teleport. You don't need to teleport to the portal. What the hell? Makes no sense.
Warping simulator.
Yeah, well, exactly. So I just did that, and it worked. And I kind of don't like that I lost the source code for the very first game.
Oh no.
Yeah. Because I would love to bring this on App Lab 2, but there's no way to recover it. I hate that situation so much, but well, no way. But there's still the side quest version that is still up, so I'm good on this one. But no way to get that on App Lab anymore, unless I redo it. But I started to redo the Portal as a side project here, but it's so much work to bring this to the level that where I'm already at now with Cactus Fully Loaded, because Fully Loaded took me probably about a year to make after work on the weekends.
I was just going to ask, you're single dev, you're the only one working on it, and you mentioned having a job, so this is just kind of hobby to you. And you also mentioned when you were chatting, like, no marketing budget and all that stuff. So this is just a super passion project for you then.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's
it's
awesome.
Just well, I got essentially I got into it when I discovered Pavlov.
Nice.
And
that was your first, like, I am in on VR moment with Pavlov then, or?
No, that was earlier with Farpoint.
Okay.
I had a PlayStation back in the days, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try that, and I was totally hooked on Farpoint. And later, then when I got my new PC rig, I instantly bought Pavlov, and I saw that they have a workshop, and I was like, "Oh God, this is Unreal! You used Unreal in 1999. You can probably make a map." So I did, and
What
it
was the name
worked.
of the map?
The name of the map is Lava Pit.
I don't know.
I don't think we play that one.
Yeah,
We
Wookie and
downloaded a ton of them.
yeah, we grabbed Pavlov when we first got into VR2, and I thought we downloaded every map, but I don't remember that.
I have Pavlov, Acid Lab, and Retro World.
Nice.
These three. These are the ones I made. And then the Quest came around, and I was like, okay, there's a new gaming console which pretty much has an empty store.
Yeah.
Until I realized how high Oculus had set the bar to get something in there.
That's why it's so empty.
Yeah, that's why it's still empty, and that's why App Lab is bigger than the actual store, which is somewhat weird. Well.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to see at least fully loaded on the actual store, but I don't see how I can squeeze that in there from production value. What they're focusing on a lot, which is kind of sad. I mean,
Yeah,
on the other hand, I get it because they don't want to have. I mean, I wouldn't want to have something like the Unity Cube, which was hilarious. I mean, I loved seeing this trailer, and I was cracking up. I was like, okay, thank you for extending the App Lab review for probably another half month. Just because somebody submitted an empty space with a Unity cube in it. But hey, that's fun. I mean, but you don't get. I mean, I feel like I will never get any of these games into the actual store at all.
And that's the sad thing. That's where like SideQuest is amazing, and that's why App Lab is bigger than the store because
Yes,
it's just ingenuity and creativity. But single devs don't always have the backing, so they show ideas, and there's some of them are fine in their unfleshed out concept build, and some of them need some help, but you'll never get the word out if it's just Oculus. Everyone loves a good curation, but nobody likes the gatekeeper. Like
absolutely. But well, on the other hand, it was quite easy to get it on Steam.
Yeah.
I mean, Steam wanted to, look more into your pockets than Facebook wanted to do that.
Yeah.
But it worked.
I was curious with that, because all your games are free on every platform. So when you have a free game, how does that work with getting it on Steam when they can't get any money from you? Or maybe they can. I don't know. How does that work?
Well, as opposed to App Lab, Steam charges you for every submission to the store you want to make.
Okay.
And it's like $100. I think it's exactly $100. And and I was like, okay, you never put anything on Steam. It's like a new achievement for your internet career if you want it this way. So I was like, okay, come on, I just dumped these $100, and I'm just gonna do it, just so I can say to people, hey, I got a game on Steam. For real, nobody knows App Lab. Nobody knows SideQuest, but when you can tell people I got a game that is on Steam, everybody will be like, "Oh yes, Steam! I heard that."
And like, I've played fully loaded for an hour or two, and I think it's great. It's a blast. Excuse me, but the game on every platform, SideQuest, App Lab, Steam, the reviews are great. Like, you have super positive reviews, and it just shows you that you don't need these AAA titles to have fun and enjoy a game and play, especially in VR. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, well, what fully loaded is different than other games. I mean, at least that that was my incentive. What I got personally annoyed with what was available is that there's hardly a VR shooter that has a coherent story.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Half-Life Alyx. There's and then I can already stop here. No, Saints and because Saints and Sinners is also a little bit like mission picking.
Yeah.
And I do not like this concept. Like, for instance, that Sniper Elite that just came out.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. I would love to have it, like you roaming around, and it's like pretty much like a hose level you roam through, whatever. But always this coming back, picking the next mission that has no direct connection to the previous one. I don't like that. And I essentially wanted it to make a little bit like a Serious Sam is probably a good comparison here.
Yeah.
Where you just run through it. Everything is a little bit connected at least. And you experience a weird story that can also be completely neglected, put aside because it doesn't actually really matter. It's just for the little entertainment here and there. And that's the thing, is that it doesn't really matter whether you played the first part or the second part of my games. It really doesn't, because it's always the same story, and it will always be the same story. So it doesn't matter whether you missed one or not, or you don't have a quest to play it with. Who cares? It's always the same story. It makes no difference.
Yeah. And speaking of that, why do these alien robots hate cactuses so much?
I have no idea. but they are just made this way.
It's their programming.
It's the evil programmer who was like, okay, this is it has to be this way. it is just weird. It essentially was created on a lot of weed back in the days. Nice. A lot of weed. and basically this is how I work. I mean, I just got on my computer, have a nice drink, or smoke a little bit, and then you just do stuff, and when you're done, you're like, holy hell, this actually works. This is great gameplay. You can do that. Like, for instance, the gunplay in Fully Loaded was I have to admit, I tried to copy Pavlov as much as I could, because to me this is like the gold standard how VR guns have to work. I mean, I'm not sure if everybody will agree on that, but to me it is.
I would agree with that.
It's simple and intuitive, and it just feels good. I think there's a reason Pavlov took off.
It's funny that other games that have come out after Pavlov, and they're going back to like just button presses for reload. Like, no one wants to reload anymore. It's like, oh, I do. That's why I'm here.
Exactly. This is exactly the thing. And I was like, okay, this is how it has to work. It has to have this, maybe not the fidelity, especially with the new reloads where they have this 1 second or half second animation where the mag goes in, but at least try to get as close as possible to what's his name, Dave Wills.
Yeah,
what Dave Wills has been doing. This is really, really important for the general gameplay overall.
Yeah, I really like your view on, like, it's not made for new players, and I appreciate that, because I've played a lot of games, and I can do anything in VR. I haven't got sick or anything since the start, since the very first time.
Okay, challenge accepted.
I was just gonna say, like, that was why I was shocked in Fully Loaded. Within like the first part of the map, like, I fought my way through this place and I climbed up this big cliff, and you had like a rope that you actually had to like climb across, and that was like really high up. I'm like, this is awesome. I haven't been, because when I first got into VR, there were a couple games where like you could climb the walls and stuff, and for the first time you do that, you're like, holy shit, that's awesome. But games kind of got away from that, so I was really surprised and happy that you had that in there. And I'm like, I haven't been this high up in VR for a while. This is neat. And I was just running around and jumping, and I jumped off and died.
Well, just be aware. I still have this weird idea that whenever I figure out how the physics of Mario Galaxy works.
You'd be jumping from small planet to small planet and barfing
Yes.
all the way home.
Exactly, that's the whole idea. You know, you can jump from planet to planet, and the gravitation will rotate your player around. And
Yeah.
I think this will really get your guts. But I haven't really been. I mean, I tried to a couple times. It worked, but it didn't really play well. It just didn't. It just not the way at least I wanted it to work. It just worked from the editor perspective, from the Unity editor perspective, but it did not work well for as a game. So, but I'm still on it. I just have this idea. I want to make like Cactus Cowboy Galaxy or something.
Cactus Space Cowboy.
There you go.
Well, why not?
That'd be fantastic.
I mean, nobody tries to have jumping as part of the VR experience, and I get why it's difficult to do that in a way that it doesn't feel off. And I'm not saying that I excel at it, but at least I just did it.
Yeah, but there's, like you guys were saying, there's games that are comfortable for people and hitting a larger target audience, but sometimes that's actually bad because you can't have a game that everyone's going to like. Stop watering them down. Like, it's okay to have a game that you don't like. Just don't put in, don't take 3 games, chop them up and put them into one, and don't, if you get sick playing a game, sorry, don't play it, But for people that want a little action, like Mr. VR Legs PJ here, it's good to have games for everyone, and it's good to have games that aren't for everyone. So,
and that was the point I was getting to that I never made. Having played so many games, it is nice that you're making games for, like, I don't want to say enthusiasts, but people who have played a lot of VR games and can take the spinning and jumping and heights and stuff, because when a new game comes out, like you said, you can tell it's watered down, and it's just like, this is cool, but I've been here before, and I want to jump around. So
yeah. And the other thing I didn't want to do is I didn't want to make another wave shooter. I think this should be, there are enough out there, and there should be a law to make more that stops people from making more.
Yeah,
like when you, especially when you're trying to sell them, for each sale you have to pay as a developer to the community. I don't know.
As a game that is a wave shooter, yeah, but I appreciate games that have because VR is still, it was more scary a year or two ago, when you release a game, and if you had online, you don't know how many people are going to keep playing it or how many people are there. So you throw in a wave shooting part just so that person who paid money can have something to do. But if it's all the game is a wave shooter, it's like, yeah, we have plenty. Please stop.
Well, another thing that actually really surprised me when it came to Cactus Fully Loaded was the playtime. I was surprised how long it took for others to actually finish the game. Because when you design the game, every nook and corner. I mean, I placed the items there, even though Fully Loaded has some random aspects, like the classic key cards I used, the red, blue, and yellow key card. The way it used to work back in the days. Anyway,
first ones.
Yeah, I scattered them randomly over the map, so whenever you die or whenever you start the map the first time, they will not be at the same place. So you kind of have to look around and talk to the NPCs to get them. However, when I play the game, it takes me probably around 3 hours 15, 3 hours 30, depending on how often I die, which is usually not a lot. And when I saw the first people finishing the game and I saw the playtime of 8 hours, I was like, holy crap. That's a difference.
Yeah. And I haven't finished it yet, but I I'm one of those people that I just like to explore, and I check every nook and cranny and corridor. And the thing I love about your game, I don't know if you did this on purpose or what, but I think I'm on the normal difficulty because you have difficulties, right? If I remember. And
For the first time.
okay. And I'm not. It's not easy and it's not hard, but you have to be paying attention or you die. And I like that because if you play a game on normal and someone comes up punches you, you just shrug it off. But if you play that same game on hard, they punch you, you're dead. Like that's too much of a difference. But all you have to do in your game is pay attention and be somewhat quick with your reflexes, and it's fun. So,
Thanks. The difficulty works very simple at this point. I mean, it is all it essentially does is that it divides the damage by 2 or multiplies it by 2, depending on what you're doing. Nice. What you choose. So when you play hard, you always get twice as much damage. I only managed it once to play through it on hard, and this was essentially because I was curious whether it's even possible. And then it was like 2 weeks ago, someone approached me and was like, "Hey, this is fun. Can you put in a speedrunner modus?" So I'm not sure if you've seen that, but the game got updated.
Yep.
And I added a full speedrun mode that tracks your time through the game. Nice. And I do not collect any data. So just because somebody might ask, hey, it's free. So he tracks the time and he stores it on his secret server somewhere. No, I do not. The time does not get stored anywhere besides your device. Anyway, he sent me time and he played through the entire game in 1 hour, 45 minutes. And I was like, how the hell did you do that?
Yeah, speedrunners are a special breed. What game was I just reading about?
Speedrunners in VR are fun because what I realized then is that in VR you can use glitches entirely different than you could do in a 2D game, because you have the power of moving through space. Through the virtual space on your own. Mm-hmm. So you can for instance, you can turn off your headset, move a little bit in your space, turn it back on, at least on the Quest, and you can skip through walls and doors.
Talk about a portal game.
Wait a minute. So it tracks your movement, but then it doesn't track like the bounding boxes? That's
yeah.
No collisions, bitch.
It's
that's crazy.
It's absolutely weird. I found someone on YouTube playing my Portal game and finished it in like 8 minutes. Only through glitches, because he figured out you could stick your head through the wall and your hand through the wall, and you can kind of set the portal at the very end of the level.
Just tie their shoelaces together and unbuckle their pants. Get to the end boss and they're like, the fuck?
It's incredible what people come up with. I always thought, okay, you're doing single player experiences, and if you cheat on a single player experience, you essentially cheat on your own. Who cares whether this is possible or not? Yeah. But seeing this coming out of the possibility that somebody actually tracks the time of the game you make and he beats you as a developer.
Yeah.
And that's like, holy crap, that's cool.
Yeah. And speedrunners are just a special breed because, like, I think it was the Japanese version of Zelda 64, the Oculus one, the first one, the Ocarina of Time, sorry. Oculus and Ocarina, like, switched places in my brain. But in the Japanese version, there was a bug, and people's, have personal rules, speed runs. Like, you can only use, the console and, like, the regular retail release. And there was a bug in there that let them finish it in, like, half an hour, like, the whole game. And that's, like, the one everybody uses. And the other game I was thinking about was the Outer Worlds, kind of a recent Xbox game, like a Fallout in space. And the developers were like, jaw dropped because somebody beat their game in 15 minutes. I don't know the details, but that's a big, sprawling, talk to everybody, pick up everything sort of first-person shooter RPG. They beat it in 15 minutes. Speedrunners are just nuts.
Yeah, I
Good nuts.
I'm glad that they do that, but to me, like, that just ruins the game, and I have no interest in that. But it is crazy what they come up with, because if I run into a bug, because I play a lot of alphas and stuff, I don't get frustrated by them, and I'm trying to help make the game, but it's just like But those guys will like, okay, what can I do with this, and how can I make this fun? And it's just like, I wish I had that mindset.
Yeah, I watched a Twitch stream once with somebody that was a speedrunner just practicing, and he's sitting there like punching walls for like hours, just trying to figure out how to break the game. And people were donating $20 here, and he's like, "Oh, sweet, that's a sandwich."
Wait, he just punched the wall just to find a glitch in there.
He was just researching glitches because he'd already gotten to like whatever game he was playing. He'd gotten down to the minimum time that he could do, and he was positive. Like he knew that game so well he couldn't do better. So he's just like checking everything to see if he could cut some more seconds off. And I was like, I want that sickness, but like for like the future of my own life. Like I want to be that sick and dedicated about, getting 3 mega yachts and feeding the poor, like what the hell?
This is weird. I mean, people can do amazing things with technology and gaming consoles. I mean, I don't know whether you guys are into these things. Just this week, there was are you familiar with the demo scene?
Demo scene?
Demo scene. These guys who make these amazing small-sized computer programs, usually running on very old school systems like the Amiga 500 or Commodore 64.
No.
Similar stuff, but not that specifically. No, not like on old tech.
So this week there was this German guy, I believe. He wrote a program for the C64 that would run without the C64.
What?
It essentially was a loader that would put some stuff on the floppy drive chip, and then he pulled the C64 off, put a resistor between the serial cable and the composite cable of the C64 monitor, and then the whole drive, just the drive itself, made the music, made the video, and everything coming from the drive without graphics processor at all. No RAM whatsoever. It's absolutely insane. It's called what was it called? FreeSpin C64 demo. This is amazing. This is the kind of things I really enjoy, and every time I come across something like this, like, okay, this is how little you know right now about computers.
Do you have a blog I can follow? Because like people that tell me stuff like that, like I don't even understand what you just said on a fundamental level. I have to go read that. Like, I just typed it into a Google tab. Like,
I do not have a blog at all. I mean, I have a shitty website for my games, essentially because Oculus me to.
Just to get in the here's a 4-second website just to say
yes, exactly. Because I'm more of the anonymous person. I like to be like in the background, not visible at all.
Yeah, I identify with that.
And that's why I do not post blog. I mean, I do have a little YouTube channel where every once in a while I put my trailers on there, or whenever I reach a certain milestone in one of my games, I upload, like short clips on what I'm doing right now with the Cactus games. But I do not really have a blog. But I can absolutely recommend looking up this FreeSpin C64 demo. It's amazing what this guy's been doing there. Absolutely. I would love to ever reach this level. I would love to pull like some sort of demo on the Quest, but I'm not really sure how to do that right now, because if you use Unity, you're kind of cheating. And it's insane what these people can do with computers. I mean, I've seen programs as little as 64 bytes that would do amazing things.
And what I like is kind of similar to your the demo scene is when they have like those 24-hour game jams. Sometimes,
Yes.
you know, like some really cool stuff comes out. Or somebody made like a 2D side-scrolling No Man's Sky clone, had just as many 18 quintillion planets you could land on. You could do all of that basic stuff because it's procedural. It was like, you know, I don't know, 300 kilobytes or some crazy small amount of memory just for the program to run. But I was like, I need that. I need to try that out. I just need to see the scope. Like, that is so awesome. They just hone their craft so well.
Yeah, this is beyond from what I can do. I mean, I looked into multiplayer and I was like, okay, nope, done. I don't need that.
You use Unity, right? You just said
currently Unity for the VR games, but I used to make some minor games with Lua and C++ for Nintendo Switch for the homebrew scene. I even have like minor tech demos. I never really finished anything. So the Cactus games are basically the first games I've ever made that have a start and an end.
That's awesome.
Because I have a drawer full of unfinished projects. Some of them are it's kind of sad that I never really finished them, but most of them are like, can I do it? Can I make a program that will run on the Nintendo Switch or can run on a PlayStation 4 without having the dev kit, of course.
Right.
Awesome. It works sometimes better than others. I made a little 2D scroller shooter for the Nintendo Switch. I think there's at least some sort of footage on my YouTube channel from this one.
That's the kind of stuff I need to be watching because I follow some people because they sound like what you're doing, and then they don't really have anything, and I just unfollow them. But like the weird demo scene, and you know, like this is the good kind of curation in my mind. Like, look at this weird crap, and it's actually like intelligent people doing very crazy things, like, you know, on the scientist almost scale, and it's like nobody shows that stuff, and I don't know where you find it all. I don't even think to look that up. So
yeah,
crazy.
I mean, there's a lot of mind-blowing things. I'm not sure if I can find it or I can phrase it correctly because it's been a while that this got released. Somebody found like some sort of memory bug in Super Mario World on SNES. And what they did was by jumping around, they were filling the memory of the SNES, and they were kind of reprogramming the game while playing the game until a point where the whole game essentially crashes and boots up a different game that got programmed while jumping around.
Whoa.
Yes.
That's like the early days of, you know, VR at all, like, you know, early Pixar where it was all math and like, hey, look at this 3D photo. I'm like, what?
Was it
just nuts?
It's what's this called? A Super Mario World arbitrary code injection. I think that's what we're looking for. And what the hell is going on outside? It's also been made by Speedrun, who posts the video. Yeah, it's called. Well, I can just leave the link for those who are interested in here.
Anyone listening to this, will put all these links in the show notes so you'll be able to find
it. Well, that would be very helpful, I suppose. Yeah. But this is the stuff I'm really into, and I love to at some point find a bug like this and put it in VR for a nonsense reason, just because to show it's possible to do that.
That's the kind of stuff that gets you crazy followers and notice. Because I met one of the guys at Turbine Games. They made like Lord of the Rings Online and some old MMOs, and he was doing a talk, and he was like, the only reason I got into the games industry is because he was just tinkering, figuring weird stuff out and posting how-tos before a lot of people were. Like, some people who went on to be AAA game devs before he broke into the industry would meet him at random shows and be like, "You're the reason I got into games," and their careers are like outstripping his own. But he's just building so much knowledge that he just kind of had to go into the games industry. Like that kind of stuff is just so neat. Like if you just post this, "Hey, look what you can do with lighting because you did this," or that stuff is just so interesting because like my brain does. I can figure a bunch of stuff out, but my brain like doesn't seem to want to go down into those depths of things. I just kind of want to make something work, like to get the most out of my time. I don't really spend enough time like weird research and development like that stuff. So it's just some people I assume aren't the same as me, but that's just super interesting when somebody's like, I did, 3 things backwards and came up with the same thing and learned how to do shadows more efficiently. And like, what the fuck?
It's also the kind of thing that absolutely cuts you out of every social life at all. I mean,
I still do that anyway on purpose. So that side effect wouldn't bother me one bit. But like these speedrunners and crazy people like this have all this like focus and stuff. I wish I had 1 ounce to do that because I just bought a classic car. I need to do a lot of work on it. And I don't because I don't know how. So it's at a mechanic shop. I'm like, I need to tear into this thing and figure it out. But no, I'm going to go do this other thing that's just wasting my time. I could be, figuring stuff out, like tinkering. I don't know if I could make a thing like the C64 that no longer needs transcends its hardware, whatever that thing is. So I'm just amazed by people that just have that focus.
Yeah, I mean, even me doing my tiny VR games in my free time, it's probably not really compatible with having a family and a full-time job. I don't think it is.
It's
from the devs we've talked to and the hours they put in, and it's probably not, but you guys are amazing to me. You're like my heroes because I wish I cared about something enough to like actually do something with it, but instead of playing other people's things. But that's what I like. So I guess that's where I'm at. But you guys,
to me, it's also a little bit, part of a creativity thing that I have great ideas, but I have 2 left hands and with 10 thumbs when it comes to drawing things. That's why my enemies look like they look, because I essentially
the most self-aware thing I've ever heard anybody say.
Well, because I'm not good at drawing or sculpting enemies, human bodies, whatever. That's why I learned that I cannot make a human hand, so I go to Cactus. And that's why my enemies aren't humans; they are robots or whatever, or whatever crocodile blocks basically pieced together. And even that I discovered is harder than it sounds. I mean, somebody just recently told me it is easy to copy a real life object 1-to-1 and turn it into a 3D asset, but it's difficult to have this very low poly and still looking good.
Yeah, it's an art form because like some people, I like to pick on that Star Citizen game that's like the most successful crowdfunding thing ever because of this. Is because the game is technically hideous. And like I bought into it because I wanted a space game and it's never come out yet. Like, fuck you guys. But it's technically hideous. They just throw so many polygons at everything that it looks like, it's kind of like they're set builders on like a Star Trek show. And like the more pipes and weird shit we just stick in here, the more authentic it's going to look. And it's just inefficient as crap. And it ends up looking like it's a bunch of clutter that needs to be there because your brain's just like, I am done with like paying attention to that corner of the room. It's garbage. And your brain accepts that, hey, that's a pile of real garbage or something like that. But to do a simplified, themed stylized stuff makes it look so much better. And it's so more simple on the engine, but it takes so much more forethought that like, I don't know how a style comes together because I could sketch out like a character and maybe one landscape, but how do you make everything in a game fit, like Witcher 3 or Zelda games? How do you make all of that stuff look like it belongs? That is an art form in and of itself, so don't feel bad about that shit.
Well, especially when you put into account that all these assets in big productions also were done by different people who probably all
Yep.
have a little different art style
Mm-hmm.
they would like to do, and it still fits together really well.
It's art direction. I mean, that's what the team's for. Like, usually you don't even need the technical team. You just need somebody leading that focus. And you could have a half-ass game that still is, some sort of hit because everything looks like it's supposed to be there, I think. And a lot of games are like that. But one
Yes.
person can't do all those things. So yeah, where you just kind of excel
Yeah.
at your strengths and, make your weaknesses passable and your goal.
Yeah. Well, that's what I also learned is that I mean, of course, you can get every asset you need from the Unity Asset Store or Unreal Marketplace, it's called, I guess.
Uh-huh.
But then you completely miss out the personal note on whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you cannot do everything. I mean, I'm lucky that I found a person who was willing to offer me his little sound collection he made on various old school computers. But if I have had this support, to be honest, I'm at a loss when it comes to game audio because I'm not a good musician at all. Like, not at all. I have no idea how to do that. It's like whatever I try to do, it sounds like a cat running over a piano. It's and I tried. I really tried many times, and I have at least a fundamental idea how what I want to do. Right, this is just not what I can do.
Yeah, it's different. I've tinkered in Unity, and PJ's played a little space game I made that plays in the browser just to try stuff out. But I downloaded some random 3D ship model because I'm not interested in modeling this right now. I just want to. I'm ripping off the control scheme of a space game I thought was fun, and I nailed it. But I went in and did the sound effects and everything. Everything was real simple, but everything I just sort of made myself, except with a ship model. And I had the laser blast look like they were pretty satisfying. They're like pill-shaped stuff, and they look kind of like lightsabers kind of flying out. It's just a really good-looking laser. I'm like, hey, that laser turned out really well using a couple tricks. And then I would show. What's that?
This sounds probably weird, but all the models that I made except for the main character Cactus for the new game, that is different. But all the robots, everything that I made myself as a 3D asset was actually made in Paint 3D. But don't tell anyone.
Paint 3D, that's nothing wrong with that.
Well,
that's awesome.
And it really depends who you're talking to. I mean, I started to learn Blender. And I'm getting better at it. But the first games are essentially made with Pro Builder and Paint 3D, entirely made in Paint 3D.
But what I like about your game is the humor, and when you you have a weak point, but you just make it humorous. I'd take that any day over top notch, whatever you want to call it, graphics and stuff. So I think that's great.
And there's
great gameplay over graphics.
Yep.
All the time.
Oh yeah.
I mean, some people don't understand that, and that's totally fine because I get when you run in, let's say, some sort of atmospheric environment, or you expect some sort of atmospheric environment, and the visuals doesn't meet what you're expecting. Okay, that really, there's nothing you as a developer can do about it. But I do know my limitations, and I rather have progress over trying to bring, I don't know, one minor detail to perfection.
Right.
And the only thing in my opinion that really needs perfection is the gameplay. It has to play well. I mean, then once again, I'm a one person show here, and there's only so much I can do.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to do is that at least the gunplay has to be as close to perfect as possible. The rest, well, if I just can't make a good-looking enemy, well, then he becomes like a block robot. So,
Yep. And that's what I was getting at too. Like when the other thing, like I made everything but the model, and some people said, "Well, you modeled that spaceship." I'm like, no, I stole that, but I was just working, and then they discounted me, and I'm like, well, fuck you. I made I made like 8-bit sound effects for the laser blast, and they're like, I don't know what they don't care, they don't know what that means. But then, like, net lost my train of thought. Oh,
but I
like
get what
working on space games or something like that. Like if you can't model a human, or if you can't weight the vertices to like bend on the elbow, if you can't make it look good, make a space game. Just get the gameplay down. Like it's easier to animate robots or spaceships because they're not like skin. They just have like, the landing gear goes down. It's just basically one axis. You just kind of extend something. People get hung up on this stuff. Like I have to make this, and then they get stuck and they never do it. So it's frustrating.
which was also part of the success for the Cactus games, is that I set the limits very low within reach. Not that I wanted perfection. I just wanted to have something that has an end. That has an end, and I do not get stuck by, for instance, with my projects I made on the Nintendo Switch for the homebrew games, was that there were always technical limitations that either came from the reverse engineered SDK, meaning that I don't understand how to use it properly, or some functions were entirely missing, so I had to write my own. It was almost impossible to finish it, but this one was possible. I mean, it's a pre-built engine. All you need to do is get all your assets in line, get the programming right, and get a start and an end. Well, I have to admit, I made the start and end at the very end of the game. So I just made a game, and once it was done, I decided what the intro was. No, I'm not kidding. It's really the intro was probably the last thing I made for the game.
It's when you had everything you wanted to highlight ready, and then you said, "Here's the intro." That's no doubt about that.
Exactly. I had a finish. The game was finished. The credits were done. I was like, okay, now you need to make an intro. Huh?
I'd rather have a game and then have to make an intro than make an intro and have to make a game out of it.
Yeah. I wonder how other people do that.
I don't know.
If you ever come across somebody, ask them, because I will listen, and then I'm curious about that, because I like, for instance, right now for the next Cactus game, I start as always with the mechanics, get the mechanics right, like the climbing, like the new gunplay, like the new enemy AI. That's what I'm working on right now, for instance. And once this is done, I start with a couple of test levels and see how it's going. How does it play?
Right.
Then I mesh up the entire game in a way of levels, NPCs, etc. PP. And when all this is done, I put in the little cutscenes here and there, maybe do some entire changes to levels and how they work. And once everything is done, I make the outro, and then I make the intro.
We've chatted about this a couple of times, like, because obviously we talk to a dev every week or two a week sometimes. Funny, like, I've asked a couple of them, like, would you want to hang out on our Discord and talk to other devs and, kind of have those conversations? Because I just like to sit there and read it because it's interesting. Not that I could contribute, because Wookie, programs and does things I don't. I'm like, I'll play it and bug test. But a couple guys have said, that's a great idea, but with devs, you'd have a couple fights going on. You'd have a couple people never talking. It's just funny because, like, not many, but a few of the devs are like, you're the first people we've talked to in a couple months. So, like you said, it's not conducive to family and all that stuff. But it would be interesting to have a list of questions you guys were curious on, how other people do what parts of the process.
Yeah.
Well, especially when it comes to VR development. I mean, I do know a lot of other programmers,
Mhm.
but no one doing these things. I mean, at all. I ask around. I mean, I know a couple people online who I've met through the SideQuest Discord, and but I've never found anyone who even tried to do something like that with VR headset or AR. No matter what, most people know like they're what would you call that? Like web development mainly, essentially.
Mhm.
But nobody really does game development. At least no one around me.
Yeah, it's the hard part too, because if you're the one paving the way on some weird trick you're doing, then you got nobody to ask. That's rough stuff.
Exactly. Well, it was interesting. Like for instance, when I made the Steam version of my game, I ran into so many troubles, and especially with the positioning for different headsets, the controllers. So the headset itself was no problem at all. I mean, I just smashed OpenXR on it, and it just worked.
Nice.
The problem was that each headset has different controllers.
Yeah.
And that was the real deal, because what I realized really quickly was that just because the rotation point for the Oculus Quest is at this position doesn't necessarily mean that it's the same position for the index controllers, and it also doesn't mean at all that it's still working for the what's it called, Reverb G2 controllers. So everything was different, and I was going nuts because all I have is my good old Quest, and somewhere deep buried here, a Rift S2. But
In the box.
it's in a box, yes. But I do not have an Index, and I don't have a Vive, and I don't have yes, I don't have a Vive. Haha. And I don't have a Reverb G2 because I just can't afford them. Well, I can, but I don't really see the point of buying these headsets. So I was asking around on Discord, hey, here, can you check my game? Can you see if the controllers are lining up properly? And what I realized was that, especially when you pipe Steam VR through OpenXR, that you had different rotation or default rotation for your Quest controls than you would have for your Index controllers. And
you're making my skin crawl.
hold on, it's getting even better, because because last week, was it on Wednesday, I think, Steam VR got an update to version 1.18, where they called it fixed the position of the grip and aiming pose for Oculus controllers again. Because if you look through the updates, so you will find that they fixed the position for the Oculus controllers quite a lot in the last 3 months. It's so fixed. You can't even, they don't even track anymore. However, point being is that I had to push a patch on Wednesday that will match the new offsets for the Oculus controllers on Steam VR, which I also kind of believe, I do not have any proof for that, but I also believe that this is the issue that the Sniper Elite Steam version suffers from right now. That they might have missed that Steam VR has changed the offset position for the Oculus controllers, and that's why everybody keeps complaining on the Steam forum that their position is kind of above their actual controller, because that's what I ran into too, and I had to push a patch.
Yeah. It stuff drives me nuts. I have to make my stuff really resilient so you can like have a plan B for that stuff, and that's where I get stuck on a lot of things. But it has worked well. Like my brain would sit there and I'd have to make like a calibration screen. Like here's a stick. Make sure you where the stick is in 3D space. Like point your thing here and like click where your hand would be and click over here. Like you would be calibrating for all the different controllers. And then I would put that in like every game. Like if you have a problem, go use that thing. And then come back out of the settings. Like I just can't stand that stuff. It's akin to like when you're
Interesting. Yeah.
like literally that's all I do. So I write scripts at work. I automate stuff. And some of my stuff doesn't need to be touched for like 5 years. And people are like, how the hell? I'm like, because when something breaks, I make it aware of everything. It's really, kind of bloated, but it's aware of everything. All you got to do is rerun it. It just figures it out and then goes. I have to work that way because if I have to go touch stuff, I'm going to get mad. But what this kind of is akin to, PJ, is like in a different format. It's like if you model something in 3D, if the application you're using is like, you got the 3D points of space, you got the x-axis, the y-axis, and the z-axis. Sometimes they're x up, like the one pointing up might be x, and some of them might be z.
Yes.
So if you import your shit, like your animation, you could have a 3D model, you've got a skeleton with all the animations, everything is assuming like z is pointing like up.
Yeah.
And you import it in.
Like Blender and Unity does. Unity Y is up, and I believe Blender Z is up. And
something like that.
Why?
I don't
There's
mean
no
to
standard.
simplify this even further, but in my mind, this is translating into why every controller has A, B, X, Y, and then the Switch, any Nintendo system, the A and the B are always opposite.
Very similar. Yep. Because then it's like push B and then you hit like the other button. It's very similar to that. But like imagine you do all this work, and we were making fun last week, talking to another developer, and I said, this scale's off. I import my whatever pirate ship and it's the size of a rock on the sand instead of bigger than the island or something like that. That happens like literally all the time because some translations broke. So to go from like Blender, put all the work in that, translate it to Unity, you have to have like there's a translation package that rips everything from Y up to Z up or back and forth. And it's just like, can't there be a button in everything like Y up? Like just build it in there once, developers of the applications. Make it easy for us. Just spend the time, do it so we can just push a button and say, I work with Z up and both things, and you're fine. It literally destroys progress because then like I was talking to a dev way back. They were working on some PlayStation game. It was like Dukes of Hazzard or something like that. They imported a Jeep module, like just a vehicle, like just a Jeep Wrangler, the essential Jeep. Couldn't find it in the asset space. Like couldn't find it. Took them 3 weeks to figure out what was going on, and because the tools at the time are so in advance, this is like early 2000s. So I had the talks. I don't know when they actually were making this. The Jeep. The whole landmass of the game was sitting on the dashboard of the Jeep. 3 weeks of like their entire development studio trying to figure out where this Jeep was going. And because, like I said before, like when you make early, like in the, early 90s, making 3D, pictures, you're just doing math and then check it, wait 4 hours to render a chunk and see, oh, you made a mistake, cancel that. Just like... make it easier on people. Make it resilient, Like if you're going to have... Because I go into like Skyrim VR, and it's made for the Oculus Vive... or not the Oculus Vive, the HT Vive controller, the wand or whatever, and everything's off that little much. It, it's pointing weird. Like swords might be pointing forward instead of up. I go rage crazy, because it's like... Don't put that on the end user, the customer. Like, take a couple days... and make the end user not have to go through that, because the shields in that game, like you're like holding onto the shield handle, and the shield just pointing straight forward. And if I'm going to block in a game, I want to like put my left elbow forward and make that,
that's what
forearm. It drives me crazy that it's not like that.
That's exactly what they also changed for the Oculus controller in the Steam VR. Only for the Open XR support, the rotation was off. So when you get the rotation to 0, and you run it through Oculus Native, it was just fine. You could just aim, shoot, all done. When you put the 0 into Steam VR through OpenXR, I had my gun pointing straight up, and then Steam VR got updated, and I had like a little bit pointing up. And with the next controller, you had it like a little bit pointing down. And I was like, oh, holy hell, why is that? I mean, isn't that supposed to fix all these issues that it's
Right.
always 000 for all controllers? I mean, isn't that supposed to be the top priority of this project?
But then each layer has to define 0, and then it's like, this is going to make me take a real gun and point it at my face. The gun's not pointing up. It's not pointing crooked. It's the barrel's bent and pointing right at my eye socket. Like,
Yeah,
hate you.
I give up and shoot myself in the ass. Nope. I'm done here. I'm really done here. It's the same with the what I don't understand is that certain SDKs are far more advanced than others, and I would love to take a glance at the PlayStation SDK just to get an idea how good or how worse it is, because nobody's talking about it nowhere.
The SDK thing, like what developers use for their own tools, I would love that insight too, because it still boggles my mind. If you go back and read what happened, like the first Destiny game over some of those launches, or some of those updates, they were saying like their tools were so bad it took them like 18 hours to like set up like one scripted little event or something like that. Like the tools those devs were given were why the updates were so bad. And it's like, huh?
Did you read about the GTA 5 loading bug where everybody got pissed off because it took so long, and when some guy reverse engineered and figured out that they were stuffing everything into a JSON file, which used some sort of old deprecated library that was essentially slow as hell,
leftover from old builds, yeah. Ugh.
Whatever, and for some reason he just changed couple of lines in a debugger and speeded up the loading process by 80% or something.
And I have a special hate for that shit, because while I was working on one project, it was just a simple, like, somebody was building a form and I was building a workflow. I don't think it was like, I don't know, SharePoint or some shit like that. And I'd never used whatever they're using, so I was just fired it up. I was doing like a C# version of a workflow in a SharePoint thing that doesn't matter. And the dumbass had never used JSON before, and I had never really used it either. So like, I don't have much, qualm to jump in and make fun of this guy. But he kept changing shit. Like every time he would do something, my workflow's done like that night. 3 weeks later, he's breaking it because he's shoving like all this information into a JSON string and then trying to parse it back out. And that doesn't make any sense maybe to PJ and a bunch of listeners, but he's basically saying, like, if you're looking at this giant form, think of like doing your taxes, right? And online or whatever you're doing, and that maybe that doesn't make sense to folks in Germany, because America's all screwed up and we have to do taxes and these weird, I don't know, it's stupid, but it's just this long process. Everybody hates it. But what if all the information you read, field names, field data types, all this stuff, like every bit of information you filled out, there's all this stuff in the back end. Imagine if all that was stuck into one sentence, your answer was in the sentence somewhere, the rest of that field info for every fucking piece of taxes. He was doing shit like this, and it was like, I don't know how long that string would have ended up to be. But then he would just go and wildly change it every week. So I'd have to go redo the workflow to accept all this new garbage. And I have it done. I'm trying to be professional and get it done ASAP. But it's like, if you say they were putting all their stuff for like GTA loading screen into like a JSON string, which is basically saying everything you're doing, like rattle it off in one long run-on sentence and then try to read that sentence later and break it apart. It's just like, that's the kind of shit that AAA game devs get away with because they just can. They can't afford to fix it, but they got to push a game out. And it's just like, fuck you. just no. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So I have a quick question for you on the topic of you said you don't have a Vive or a Index and all that. As a developer, would you want like one model of every headset, or no? Just curious.
Would that make it easy for you?
What do you? Sorry, I didn't get that.
I'm just curious. As a developer, like, would you want one model of every headset, or do you think that's too much?
I don't have the room for all of them, especially. Especially for the ones that require lighthouse tracking. I would not.
Right.
I don't know how to put that up here in my little office.
I'm just curious because I saw an interesting tweet where, and I can't remember who it was, but they're like, does anyone else think that it's nothing against like streamers or content creators, but the tweet was, don't you think it's bullshit that all these content creators get headsets for free where us devs have to normally pay for them and we only have one and they have one of everything or two of everything? And
It was me, I think.
was it you?
Yes.
That's awesome.
that was me replying to the Unreal AR headset because I wasn't able to get one, and I felt like a little bit cheated on because I wanted to do content, and there was and every time you want to do actual content for the system, they hold open their handles like, yeah, that will be $5,000 for a HoloLens developer kit.
That's what it was, yeah.
And then Yuppie Duppy YouTuber walks in and is like, hey, I got 5 million followers, and I will tell every single one of them how awesome this headset is if you just give it to me for free.
Yeah, but there won't be shit to play on it because none of the devs have it.
Right, it's backwards runaway capitalism marketing. So they give all these stupid little kids a headset. They give all the little influencers. Maybe they'll sell more headsets. But those kids are going to return the headsets when they find that there's only 4 fucking games to play. So just...
This is that was me because I tried to get an AR headset because I got some ideas that I would really love to make apart from just games, but I just can't get hold of the developer kit, and I also can't get hold of Unreal glasses because the 2 stores here in Germany that will sell them only want to sell them to me if I buy a phone contract, and I already have a phone contract, and I do not want another phone contract.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
It does not, because to a certain degree it does, because the Unreal AR needs a phone as a processing unit. But you just can't buy it. They are only selling this bundle combined with the phone contract, and I just don't.
Yeah.
It's just not possible. I mean, I would totally buy that phone because I need a processing unit. Okay, cool, no big deal. But I don't want this stupid contract that makes me pay for like 2 years. I don't know. I forgot how it is in the US, but in Germany, it's usually when you sign up for a phone contract, you can't get out of it within the next 2 years. So fuck that. just a big screw you. This is really messed up. Whenever you sign a contract, like for instance with an ISP or something, they make 2-year contracts, and you can only cancel this contract in a very specific period of time, especially like the month before the contract runs out or gets automatically renewed for another 2 years, and probably only when there is full moon and whatever. I really hate this system. This is weird. I mean, 2 years. You're stuck with that.
Is there any way you can like order it online from somewhere else just to have one?
Well, and then again, I don't want to spend the money.
Yeah, true.
Because we're talking a couple thousands here. It's just for trying out. I mean, that's why probably some people will hate me for that, but I really like the Oculus headsets because they're so cheap.
Yeah.
I really can't afford them because I do not see how most people I know can shell out like €1,000 for a Valve Index. I don't think that this is a reasonable price. I just don't.
And with the Oculus stuff, like you said, pros and cons to everything, but that's like for single
it's a phenomenal
person,
headset.
Yeah. for single person like devs and just working on passion projects, like we've said, like I don't know. I wish there was a way to make it easier for you guys and for you to get the hardware you need, because we've talked to many people in other countries, and some of them, like, it's you can't even get this stuff. Like, they have to travel to go buy these things, and it's just like it sounds so rough, and then they still make great stuff.
Well, you cannot technically, you cannot buy a Quest in Germany, at least not a Quest 2 in Germany either. So I imported mine from the Netherlands.
Yeah.
But to get back to the question whether I want to have like every headset available on the market right here, definitely not. Because I really don't need that. But what I would love to have is like some sort of access to them when I need it. Like once the game is finished, because I can do a lot of things by just reading the documentation and guess how it's supposed to work. But just to get an idea how it would actually feel with a knuckle controller.
Yeah.
Just to get the, because maybe I can do things better for people who are playing the game with a knuckle controller, but since I don't have one, I wouldn't even know.
Yeah. You'd think there'd be a good method for like, hey Valve, I'm a developer, my game's here's a demo, or I'm pretty much done. I just want to test it on your headset. Could I get a unit for a month or something? And they just have like a demo unit to send to you or something like that.
Well, could we set up? Sorry, go ahead.
I never tried that, but maybe they will. Who knows?
Is there a way we could set up maybe some sort of Discord, whether it's our Discord or just start a new one where there's a community of developers just providing that stuff? Like, I don't have this, but here's what I have. Like, maybe somehow they could fill out a profile and here's like a checkbox of all the headsets. You just go in and check what you have and what you're available and willing to do. Just say like, I'll test, your controllers out if you test the ones for me and shit.
No, well, for instance, like me, I mean, I would have my Rift S available for these kind of things, but then again, I would not mail it internationally, only within German limits.
Yeah,
and which is probably kind of difficult here. I mean, asking the company to send out a demo or like a preview headset. I mean, I can definitely try that. It's not too bad of an idea.
I just be curious, like when we talk to other devs, like how do they make that work, or what do they do? Because I know like some devs have been sent headsets, so I don't know if there's like a channel that you can contact certain people for that. I don't know.
Well, like for instance, when you trying to develop something for PlayStation VR, you're gonna get a developer unit from Sony, but I think you have to pay for this one too.
Mm-hmm.
From my understanding, I don't know how it really works, but I would love to port Cactus 3 over to PSVR 2.
Yeah,
I just haven't I never really looked into it how that works. But then again, if they're gonna ask me to, let's say, you need to pay $1,000 for the developer kit, and you need to pay another $1,000 for the NDA, and then I would probably say, no, sorry, that is too much. I mean, I'm willing to, just for the shits of it, I would give like $100. I think that's the threshold where I say, okay, just for the hell, I'm gonna do that.
That's with someone like you, that's again single dev. You're doing everything as a passion project. You're not charging for anything. I don't know how you do that to begin with, let alone having to pay all these extra things to just do it. That's insane.
That's every single dev's plan. That's why the Unity marketplace or whatever, like the asset store and the stuff like that, is so attractive, because you can go on Unity asset store and like, here's a water wave system, so you can have like nice overlapping waves. So here's an entire weather system. Like, you don't have to worry about it, because you can afford a few $100 for some of those are $50 and they go up from there, I'm sure. But like when I was trying to figure out like voxel modeling, I couldn't make sense of anything. I bought a Unity asset for $75. It was like a voxel modeling system. Just like the landmass in No Man's Sky. Just you can just burn through it and stuff like that, just to see how it was built. And I'm like, oh, I hate everything about this. I'm gonna go with height maps. Yeah, you just pay with your own money. Like, yeah, it's a shame. But I just wondered, is there anything we can do with a resource? Because, like, not that I want to, tax put anything further on any of the indie devs that PJ's got us in contact with for the podcast, but maybe it would be a good resource just to say, a place to go to say, hey, got this. I'm sure there's a million forums out there that might be doing this, but if there's a need that's not being met for guys like you, then we could, I don't know.
There are certain Reddit subreddits you can go to.
Yeah, probably. But where you're, just an easy spot to find somebody to say, hey, you got this, headset. Can you test my game? Because I can't afford the headset. How long would that take to find in Reddit? And would people be nice enough to do it? I don't know.
Well, I'm on various VR Discords, and let's say for the Reverb G2 it was a little bit difficult, but for the Index, I was covered fairly fast with someone who knew how to test things, how to report back, and maybe a half day. And I've been, and especially with the person who tested the Reverb G2, he put in passion to make it work, and we probably worked for like a week. Me trying to push out new beta builds to see whether the controller will work or not. And took forever. Probably would have been a day if I had a headset here and see the direct output, not having to, send back and forth data. But sorry, I just someone knocked here on the door. I was like, we can cut it out.
I don't know people. Go away.
Yes. Anyway, it just takes forever if you don't have the headset, because as a developer, when you look through it, you cannot you see things differently than the people who own the headset and are just sheer consumers.
Yeah, maybe there's a Discord somewhere out there where you can just pay people, like they're just good at testing. Like you said, just somebody that knows what they're doing to say, here's the build. Here's what I'd like tested. Here's how much time I'm willing to spend for it, such and such an hour or whatever, and just say, give me some feedback. I would spend, if I was a game dev, I would spend $50 to just push that off and then get an email back in a day.
I usually offer these people access to the beta version and alpha versions of my games, and
right.
Yeah. Oh,
I was gonna say, find some Yahoo like me that all you have to do is give them a key and they'll do whatever you want.
Well, and I also put them in the credits.
Yeah, that's nice.
Everybody who helped me go through these kind of things, because I just can't buy every single headset available on the market. It's not possible.
It's just nuts. I was just saying that, like, I would be willing to pay for some of that stuff just based, unless you get a really good person in your group, like just getting accurate feedback in a timely and like a manner that you expect to build a relationship with somebody. It's worth weight in gold. Like, they consistently provide good detail and stuff like that instead of it's broke. Just so.
All right. So silence.
I thought it sounded like you're like writing something down or something, so I didn't want to interrupt your thought process.
No, everything's fine. What's the time?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably time to wrap up here. We really enjoyed this chat. We could keep talking, but that doesn't always work for everyone. So before we split, is there anything you want to share with your game or anything that you want listeners to know or hear before we?
Well, the only thing is that there will be more Cactus games, and as long as I can afford it, they will be free, definitely. Because I do believe that software can be free if it's a hobby, and I will try to deliver best quality for lowest price possible.
Do you have like donation?
Yeah, I was gonna say
Acceptance?
maybe like a
Well,
Patreon page or
I do. Well, I do have indeed, I do have a donation button on my homepage, but it is not a, I don't see that in a way of you pay for the games, because I feel like this is not really a good concept. It's like more buy me a beer license, if you're familiar with that.
Yep.
Yeah, because I will use that money for beer or snacks. Well, in certain cases, maybe for 3D assets, but essentially for beer and snacks.
Yeah. If you have a link to that, you should send it over and we'll put it in the show notes too. But because that's amazing, you're trying to keep it free and just because it's a hobby and you love it. But again, for a one-man team, like your game runs really well. Like I was so impressed, and it's just
Thanks.
fun, and there's so much to do and so much going on instead of just kind of like, one trick pony games where it's like they have one thing and that's what they base their game on. You got it all going on. It has a nice retro feel with the sound that you were talking about earlier. I really dig the sound. But overall, it just runs really well. It's fun and it's free, and that blows my mind. So.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man.
But yeah, thanks for joining us, talking. Anything we can ever do to help, whether it's test or anything, or you want to come back and talk some more? Or...
Need to talk to humans.
Talk to humans? No. Oh, what's that?
Humans that aren't knocking on your door.
Yes. No. As I said, I'm currently working on the Successor 4.3, and it's going to be similar but different.
Awesome.
I try to make every game a little bit, separate from the other.
Yeah.
So it's not just same shit, better graphics. It's just the same main character, but the game is different.
I just had one question before I forget. Just about, you said you lost the source code to the first game.
Yes.
And I haven't explored this fully, but there's a way to mod Unity games. It uses a DLL called like Bepin X, BEPIN. Have you used that? Have you heard of it?
Never heard of it.
I didn't know this, but like it basically reads Unity code. So like I learned about it through that Valheim game that's gotten popular, and people are modding that game for them. You can actually see the code, and then anyone can go in and write a new function, like automatically close the doors after a set number of seconds instead of you having to close the door. I think it could let you read the code. Like if you wanted to go back and do like a 3-pack or whatever, it wanted that source code. I haven't explored. I don't know if it's like completely readable or if you could just copy and paste, but people are able to see the code for a Unity executable.
Well, for an App Lab release, I would need to severely upgrade the SDKs that are sitting in there, because App Lab will not accept them the way they are right now.
Gotcha. I was just saying, like, if you ever wanted to go back and try to regain some of that.
What was the name again?
Bepin, BEPIN EX, Bepin X that's what the DLL's called that I use for that game. And I was like, I tinker with Unity, so I was scared as crap. I'm like, you can make a Unity game and everyone can just read your source code, but that's exactly what it sounded like. In this case, it might come in handy.
That is handy.
So something to, if you're sick of looking at the new game and you're just curious, first thing you said, lost source code, and then you said Unity, and I'm like, that might actually, maybe.
That is interesting. That is interesting.
Nice.
Let
us know what happens.
Just let us know if it works. I'll be curious.
That really is not that good. Oh god, this gives me already some kind of horrible ideas.
I figured, dude. Hopefully, it's just simple enough to get you what you need without sending you down a rabbit hole that turns you into.
And even if maybe something really cool can come out of it.
Yeah.
What I would love to do is just to kind of regain the entire game and just update. But if I can at least read the source code and get the scripts back.
I mean, amateur people are able to read that stuff and, like, with 3 lines of code, make a mod that works with the game flawlessly. Until maybe they patched it since I was last playing it, but literally there's, there's wolves that howl all the time. You have one in your village, it just won't shut up. Gone. Like, muted with a 2-second mod. Like, they got to be reading that source code. And that's what the explanation for that mod was. So that could be. Sorry for snapping my fingers.
That's really, really cool.
And we've just killed.
There goes his weekend.
There goes the weekend. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna call off my girlfriend for tomorrow. But
oh no! Sorry, Miss Cactus.
Yeah, that's she know that may be coming. All right.
All right, man. This was a blast to talk to you.
Yeah.
Hope we do it again.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see what else you come up with, but I'll definitely get back to Cactus Land and fully loaded and finish the game and
check the speed counter. Yeah. It's like 1 hour 45 minutes. That's the current record I'm aware of.
That's awesome.
Crazy.
Yeah, as I said, your average time seems to be like 6 to 8 hours.
Nice. That's a good gameplay.
Interesting. All right. Well, then I'm gonna head to the restroom really quickly right now.
Have a great night, man.
Good luck.
See you around.
See ya. Well, everyone, that was Cactus from Cactus VR Studios, working on Cactus Cowboy, or finished. He's finished, but play Cactus Cowboy Fully Loaded. It's on Steam, App Lab, SideQuest. It's free everywhere. It's fun. It's got a great retro feel. It runs well. There's good humor, good mechanics. Surprising for a free game.
Yeah. I took a look at the video while you guys were talking on the Steam, and it just looks insane. I'm like, that's crazy.
I really like it. But we've talked for a while, so we'll get out of here. This was episode 72, and I am PJ.
I'm Wookie.
And this was our VR verdict.